Auburn picked up a huge win during their bye week.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend on the Friday edition of the show. We will sprinkle in some basketball chatter later in the show and address some portal, I don't want to say rumors, but there have been some speculatory statements out there that we kind of want to give our thoughts on. But look, the story of the day is what happened last night. The Auburn Tigers flipped a guy who they've been pursuing for weeks, months, long time. And that is Sam Turner, the wide receiver who's been committed to Georgia Tech for a hot minute. The standout from Atlanta, just a 3-star player, but you turn on this tape and he's just cooking all of these elite Atlanta defenders. And it's like, okay, 6'3", 190, can compete in the best area of high school football, arguably in the country. I'll take that. Darrell, the fact of the matter is there's so many members of the Auburn fan base. There's so many members of folks outside of Auburn pointing their finger at Auburn and laughing, saying what Hugh Freeze and staff is doing isn't beneficial. It's not building the program the right way. Yet here we have guys like Sam Turner, guys like Deuce Knight, despite Auburn not being able to do anything on the field that results in a win, the kids, the players, the guys that matter still believe in what Hugh Freeze and staff are doing.
I think it speaks volumes, Zach, that first of all, he has not lost this team. Let's be perfectly honest. I know we're talking about it later on, but this does matter, and it does coexist with what we're talking about when you pick up recruits.
Yeah.
The retention part of this Auburn roster, when you look across the country and you see other teams having already guys redshirt and jump in the portal, and Auburn at 2-4 right now and struggling on the field, still being cohesive enough to keep this roster together, to keep the belief together. And oh, by the way, not only are they retaining their players, they're adding guys like Deuce Knight and Sam Turner. And look, I don't care that he's a 3-star. I get caught up in the 4-star, 5-star things. We've basked in that. We've been excited.
And he is a 4-star on Rivals.
Absolutely. The kid plays at Southwest. Now I want to say, is it DeKalb or DeKalb? I don't know if I ever pronounced that right. You know, the Yankee.
I think it's DeKalb, but
okay.
I'm not confident in that. Let us know in the comments.
So a very, very good high school program that plays against very good competition. So what people need to understand is there's always these variables that you can look at besides offer lists and that kind of thing. Look at the competition and the defensive backs, like you mentioned specifically, that he's going against that are 4-stars, that are 5-stars, that are going to big schools. And like you said, he's cooking them. He's running by them. He is absolutely getting open. And so I think at some point he'll, when reclassifications come out and that kind of thing, but really who cares? I think that Marcus Davis, and I trust this staff, when they've had their eyes set on Sam Turner for a very long time.
Yeah.
They've wanted him to flip for a very long time. And the fact that you're able to get a kid like this in an off week, a bye week, when there's all this supposed turmoil and speculation and toxic things around the program.
Yeah, he's losing the program. He's losing the team. This recruiting class is going to fall apart. That's all you're hearing, Darrell.
He's keeping the team and he's adding to the recruiting class. And so there has to be some sort of belief or understanding of the plan and a buy-in. There has to be a buy-in for the guys that are staying and for the guys that he's adding. They're seeing the vision, Zach. They are looking at the vision that this staff is building, and they're saying, I can see that. I'm buying into that.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is bigger than a star rating, okay? The totality of adding players that my prediction is, and we'll see if it comes true, By the time signing day comes around, there's going to be a lot of bigger programs that are going to try to poach Sam Turner from Auburn. I believe that you'll see some come out of the woodwork, and a lot of teams use other teams to evaluate talent and go, okay, he flipped from Georgia Tech to Auburn. Auburn's got some pretty good stud receivers in the last class. They got one coming up in 2026. It's a really good receiver.
Sure.
There must be something to this. Let's go after this kid. You watch what happens in the next month and a half and who tries to get him and poach him from Auburn.
Yeah. It'll be too late. It'll be too late.
Too late. Yeah.
It'll be too late. I remember when the visitor lists for Big Cat Weekend started to kind of get out there and be reported. And I saw Sam Turner on the list. And at the time, I didn't know who he was. I'm like, okay, Georgia Tech commit. Let me check this guy out. And I turn on his tape. And I'm like, what in the world? This guy is a player. This guy is a stud. And I'm stoked. I'm stoked. It's 6'3", 190.
Can you refresh my memory, Zach, on when his official was? Was it the Oklahoma game? Was that his official?
I can find that. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I think it was. And I think that kids that are committing after games like that, just to be perfectly honest, are buying into the plan and to the vision. They have to be.
That's a good point. I don't see it readily available on here, but that sounds right. He was here for an unofficial, and they don't have it. Usually 247 tracks their visits pretty good, but it's not on this page. But he's been here. He's been here for sure. And I'm pretty sure it was Oklahoma, now that you say it. But I talked about this last night in the reaction show that we dropped. And if you want to check that out, Philip Dukes of On 3 hopped on and we reacted to Sam Turner flipping from Georgia Tech to Auburn together. And one of the things he said, like, look, these kids that visit Auburn, they want to roll Toomer's Corner. They want to come here and celebrate a win with these guys that they're all friends with. And, they want to see this brand, this university, this school, this team that they've really grown to be fond of. They want to see them succeed. And unfortunately, the guys who have visited, like Sam Turner, like Deuce Knight, they haven't seen Auburn do it. And just the fact of the matter, Hugh Freeze and the staff are getting guys to commit and put together one of the best recruiting classes in the country amidst all of the chaos that's happening on the field, the lack of wins, the lack of production. At some point, like the level of talent is going to work. I mean, I think stacking these classes is going to be huge. I mean, once again, I think the most important thing from the timing of Sam Turner's commitment is the guys that matter, the guys that are wearing the AU and strapping them up and representing Auburn on the field. They believe in what Hugh Freeze is doing.
Well, I'll tell you this, give credit to the people that host players, the coaching staff, the whole process. We've witnessed it up close. I know Charlie Five, Kyle has been on the field when we watch these recruits. And I'm going to share a little quick story. I know of a family that had a very highly rated player that was a legacy at another school.
All right.
His dad played at a particular school, and this kid wanted to visit Auburn. And the dad said no, because if you visit Auburn, you'll go to Auburn. That is an absolute, not a rumor. It's a firsthand conversation I had with the kid's family. So that goes to show you what the experience is like, even when you're losing games.
Yeah. It's a special place.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what it'll be like when Auburn gets his turned around and starts winning big games on campus, and you're going to roll Toomers after being a ranked team? Just sit tight, folks. It's coming. There's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
I hope so, Darrell. I hope so. All right. So, welcome, Sam Turner, to the 2025 class. Very, very pumped to have you. We are very high on you on this show and have been for quite some time. Let's jump in and tackle some of the portal speculation that's being thrown around, because right now I'm not buying it. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our new friends at Z-Biotics. Darrell, can you imagine being hungover at this point? No way.
Yes.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking.
Where was this in the 80s and 90s when the Dapprich was in college? And oh, by the way, to ask that question of an Auburn fan, well, what kind of season we've had so far this year, really, that's a rhetorical question, right?
Yeah, Z-Biotics. I mean, you drink it first. Ideally, it's your first beverage of the night. Yeah, we all know, like this is the pre-game, I guess. Step 2, you drink responsibly, and step 3, you enjoy tomorrow. I mean, how great is that? How great is that? Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. Darrell, can you imagine just saying, hey, I'm going to turn this $5 into $200 just like that? Can you imagine that?
Typically, that sounds too good to be true, but in this case, it's reality.
Yes, it's reality. It's reality. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all in the same place, the same page where you place your bets. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Check them out. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrell, there's some chatter out there, and I've seen some folks that I really, really respect talk about this, which kind of led me to look into the situation more. But there's a narrative going around about Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson not being happy and potentially leaving. And you're hearing it from other players too. The rumor, not from the actual player, but the speculation. Auburn fans love to do this. That's fine. We're upset, whatever. I just haven't found anybody that I've talked to, and I've talked to folks close to the situation, that feel like there's any danger of losing these key players. Folks outside of the Auburn fan base are saying, oh my goodness, why would these guys stay? Some of the negative Auburn fans are saying and asking the same question. I just haven't found anything of substance to hold on to and say, maybe there's something to this. I'm just not there yet.
Well, look, in this day and age, it's very, very common, and especially because we've seen some precedents where some people are jumping in the portal, redshirting, and planning on going to the portal. It's a natural type of fear or assumption that, it's, this player may have not played as much as they thought they were going to play, or this team hasn't reached its goals. But again, the fact that hasn't happened officially, I get where people make the leap, and especially when Hugh Freeze at his press conference says tampering season has started already. There are players that there are teams that have already tampered with Auburn players, but let's be honest, it happens everywhere. It's the reality of college football. So people hear that and then automatically start making leaps and jumps about, this guy or that guy, or they see Kirby Smart talking to Cam Coleman on the field after the game, and then their mind goes to that place. Look, the bottom line is, could it happen? Absolutely. I mean, it's in this day and age of the portal, but it's not. We're not hearing that it's happening or that it's already happened. So speculating on it does nobody any good at all, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Unless you're reporting news, I think that's something else. But at this point, I just don't think that that's going to be something that happens. Now, if it does, it's going to be devastating.
Okay, so let's talk about real quick why someone would even entertain the idea of going into the portal. What we've seen already in some of the players that have redshirted and plan on going is, number one, NIL issues, promises being broken. That's not happened at Auburn. The compensation, the NIL, there's not an issue there. Playing time,
which I do think that reputation in today's age among players is going to be super, super important. One right now, but also just over the next few years. Like, these players know which schools pay nothing, which schools pay just enough to get you on campus, which schools pay close to what they've offered, and the ones that pay what they agreed to pay you. And Auburn is one of those, and that is super, super important. Sorry to cut you off. Continue.
No, that's a great point, because reputation matters and trends matter.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing, what we hear a lot of times, are people are unhappy with what they consider to be promised playing time when they come to a school and it hasn't panned out. Well, in the two specific examples that you mentioned, Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, there's no way anyone can convince me that the Auburn coaches aren't telling. First of all, Cam Coleman's playing a ton anyway, so you can push that aside for him. But let's say Perry Thompson thought he should be getting more plays, more snaps, more targets. All Auburn's coaching staff has to do is say, "Oh, that's coming. Next year you're starting. You'll be a starter."
You know why I don't think that's an issue? It's because every time Hugh Freeze was asked about Perry Thompson, and it was me several times asking this question about what to expect about Perry Thompson. You know what he said? He listed all the Ole Miss receivers that were really good under his time there that redshirted under him.
Yep.
He told us this was going to happen.
He knows that the immediate gratification and the immediate payoff is coming next year. When KLS leaves and a couple of the other older receivers leave, you will have a spot right there to get a ton of targets. It's right there in front of you. So you're getting taken care of from an NIL standpoint. Playing time is coming very, very quickly. The only other aspect of somebody wanting to get in the portal or redshirt and not play anymore is if they felt like they wanted to play for a championship program. Like they're disenchanted with Auburn's 2-4 season and said, "This isn't what I signed up for. I thought we were going to compete for championships." Well, that goes back to the vision that we're talking about that they're selling. It's still there. The framework's still there. And when you get a quarterback like Deuce Knight a week ago, it just amplifies that and ramps it up. Like, look who you're going to have throwing to you in the future. Just sit tight. Help is coming. I think that's why some of these, the speculation is jumping the gun, because it doesn't fit the criteria why people redshirt and get in the portal. None of these are can be checked off as legitimate reasons.
Yeah. Now they may wait and see what Auburn does in the portal. Like, if Auburn decides to get a quarterback, and they say, "Hey," if Hugh Freeze is like, "Hey, hold on, watch this. Let's see what happens. Or we're going to let him compete in the spring." I think that matters too. And so
it also matters if Auburn was to go buck wild and go into the portal like they did 2 years ago, and this isn't going to happen, and get a bunch of receivers. Well, then I would expect and I would understand people then jumping into the portal, but that's not happening.
You know what's funny, though, is the position groups where we project and predict they are going to go crazy and add. People aren't talking about that. There's no way Auburn doesn't add several defensive linemen just because they're going to have to. They're going to have the bodies, or they're going to play freshmen and sophomores exclusively. Like, that's just the way the roster is. And nobody's saying, "Oh, I bet Malik Blockton leaves. Oh, I bet TJ Lindsey leaves." Like, why aren't people doing that? To me, that's a better argument.
Well, you could say that for the offensive line too, couldn't you? If Wade leaves and Wright leaves and Percy Lewis, you've only got Connor Lew.
But in this situation, it'd be guys who aren't playing enough would be the argument. So that would be like, "Oh, Favor Edwin's going to enter the portal," which, I hope he doesn't. But I don't know. I think it's logically inconsistent. And I just felt the need to call it out today. So we'll see. And they certainly could. They could get an argument, if Marcus Davis were to leave. Like, I'm sure there are things that will impact their decisions at every position group. But to me, I'm not there yet. And I've seen that a lot over the last 48 hours, and I just wanted to get thoughts on it. Okay, Auburn basketball. They should be pretty dang good, Darrell. And it kind of feels like basketball really starts to rev up next week. Let's jump headfirst into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retired boost on IRA accounts. Robinhood Gold provides the privilege of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for just $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Darrell, final few minutes of today's edition of Locked On Auburn. Auburn basketball and the rest of the SEC will be at Media Days on Tuesday up in Birmingham. You and I are planning to make the trip up there to cover Pearl and the selected players that'll be there. It's Janai Broom and
Denver Jones.
Denver Jones.
Yeah.
Denver Jones, which you've talked to some folks over the last several weeks, and like they can't stop talking about Denver Jones.
And it's surprising because where they're talking about him at the point guard position, that they cannot get him off the floor, that right now he is Auburn's most effective point guard. And I remember when he came last year, people kept talking about, Auburn will have him at the 2, but watch out, he can play some 1. Well, he looks very, very comfortable at the 1. Now, that's a good news, bad news type scenario for me, just to be honest. The good news is, you've got Tahad Pettiford, you've got people like that are capable of playing both positions that you could now slide in. You could slide Miles Kelly to the 2 if Denver Jones is playing the 1. That's huge in a backcourt type scenario for experience. But the thing that concerns me a little bit is that I thought Auburn went out to get their point guard in the transfer portal in J.P. Pegues. He's a stud. He's a good player at Furman. He was just what in Bruce Pearl's system that you would want. And
he was a highly coveted target in the portal. I mean, everybody wanted him.
Yeah, and so I'm a little bit concerned that he is not grasping that job, taking that job over.
Is that what you're hearing? Like, is this more about Denver Jones, you think, or is it more about Pegues, you think?
Both. I'm hearing both.
You
I'm
think
hearing
it's
both about
excelling?
Grasping.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I would, in a perfect world, I would like to see J.P. Pegues win that job, be as dynamic as he was at Furman, Denver Jones play the 2, and Miles Kelly play the 3. That would be, to me, the best case scenario. But if you cannot force it, if it's not there, you have to go with your best lineup. And maybe it is Denver Jones at the 1, Miles Kelly at the 2, Chad Baker-Mazar at the 3. There's a lot of different combinations that Auburn can play. We talked earlier about versatility. And Pettiford's going to be very, very difficult to keep off the floor. I mean, I'm just hearing that he is him. And he is, for a freshman, he can play the 2, he can play the 1. Well, if you got Denver Jones at the 1, you still may be able to play Miles Kelly at the 3 with Pettiford. So I get it. I just was automatically assuming that Pegues was the guy.
Yeah.
He was going to be a plug and play. Now, he may still be. It would just maybe take him a little while to grasp what Bruce Pearl's system is. And he may get it, and Denver Jones is versatile enough to slide back over to the 2. But it's just all the talk we've heard is Denver at the 1, Denver at the 1, Denver at the 1, and he's excelling. So to me, that's great news. But good news, bad news scenario, I was really expecting it to be Pegues.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I think that's part of. I think that's part of why the floor appears to be so high for Auburn basketball is Bruce Pearl just has so many options. And that's what happens when you have a roster with double-digit seniors on it. And all of these guys coming back. And, it seemed like everybody that they added, whether it's through the portal or through the high school ranks, can play multiple positions. And so if somebody that you bring in isn't grasping the offense or the system as a whole quickly, I think it's okay. I think that's okay. Because, this team's going to be tested so much during the non-conference. Like, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. And I think, I don't know, if one or two guys don't pan out, like, it just makes the rotation easier, I think.
And remember, Denver Jones is a really, really good shooter.
Yeah.
So much so that he's more of a natural two guard or off the ball. But when Auburn has had its most successful teams, and Bruce Pearl he's had point guards that could really, really shoot. Where Auburn struggled when Holloway couldn't shoot it or Wendell Green couldn't shoot it, they struggled. When Sharif Cooper, who wasn't a shooter, but he was a slasher, he was a scorer, he could still score. When Jared Harper and some of those other point guards that Auburn had that could flat out shoot the basketball, like a shooter that you would normally see at the two guard position, that's how good of a 3-point shooter they were. Auburn thrived. And so maybe that's what, and then you still got guys like Pettiford and Kelly that can shoot it and can. So I get it. That's why you have depth.
Yep.
That's why you over recruit or your roster is, I don't know, breeds competition. Again, I just thought Pegues, Denver Jones was the natural backcourt. Maybe there's a variation of that, and we just have to adjust on the fly. But Denver Jones has been getting early rave reviews at practice.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that 100%. Darrell, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Instagram, Darrell Dap, and then obviously with you, Wednesdays and Fridays, and normally when it's not an Auburn off week, we do the reaction show.
Yeah, we'll return to that next week for sure. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.